Well, hi folks, this is Darren with My RV Works. First, I want to apologize about my voice. I'm coming out of a cold or a flu or something where I actually lost my voice. So I haven't really been out in the field the last week or so, but I'm feeling better, but my voice isn't back 100%. But what that does is I don't have a video for you today on me making an RV repair. I took this downtime, now that I'm feeling better to get around, to actually clean up my tool bag. And normally I once a month or once every 2 months, I'll just dump it out. And when I'm on a job site, if I'm gonna cut a wire or something, all that goes in my tool bag. Trash, I just put it in my tool bag. And so I can show you this massive pile over here. It's just a bunch of debris, snips and things like that. Random items that go in here. I'll take a tie wrap and I'll cut the tail off and I'll throw it in here because I know that pretty soon I'm gonna be dumping my tool bag out. And so that's what I did as I'm getting myself healthy to get back out there again. And I'm like, hey, I've had some comments that have come through on some of the things like, what meter are you using? Where do you get this? So I'm like, well, what a great idea. Let me show you what I carry around on my daily repair tasks. And what I'm going to do is all these tools, I'll make a link, well, even better than that. Right below in the description, there's going to be a hyperlink, and you can jump right to our website. And the folks over at Amazon, yay, you know how the Amazon affiliate program works. If you're going to go buy a pair of lineman's pliers, go buy your lineman's pliers. But if you buy it through my link, you still pay the same price. But hey, you give Darren some love. So my goal here is not to make $1 million and buy my private island for my tools, but my goal is to show you, what does your typical RV repair technician carry around in his tool bag? A guy that does this as a profession, things like that. Now, I'm sure I'm gonna get some, well, you didn't use this, or you didn't use that, or why are you buying this? But just, this is what I use. So let me just bring you over here and dump my tool bag out again and show you what I use on my daily carry bag. Now, I also have a service trailer, and it's got, gosh, tens of thousands of dollars in other tools, but I don't carry those in my tool bag. Most of the jobs that I can repair with what is in this tool bag. And so let's dump it out and see what I have in my bag of tricks. See, I'm losing my voice, but hang with me, we'll get through this, okay? All right, here we go. Okay, so I was playing around with where to put the camera so you could see. You don't need to see me, I'm really trying to show you a thing. First thing is, I like working with gloves. And I've tried a bunch of different gloves. As far as the leather type gloves, I like the CRC Leather Crafters better than the mechanics gloves. They're first of all, they're a little bit cheaper by a couple bucks, but they just feel better. They're easy to put on and off, and I don't need all the mechanics glove type thing. But anyway, after I use those, I started to find these, and they're just fantastic. So again, all these links will be down in the, you're gonna, if you're interested in anything, just right down below, go to the link, go to the website, and that'll link you right to our affiliate page on our website, okay? So, without further ado, how do you want to do this, guys? You want me just to dump my tool bag? Let me do this. I'm going to make a pile over here on the side, okay? And then as I put it back in, I'll explain what all the tools are. How does that sound? Let's do it that way. Okay, so okay, folks, so I have just dumped my tool bag out. Hope you can see everything. And now let me explain what it is, why I use it, and all that. So first, got a couple extra things here. First is the tool bag itself. Okay, I've tried a couple different tool bags. This one seems to be able to carry everything that I like. Again, this is all me. No one's paying me to advertise a product, so I don't care whose you get. I get nothing from any manufacturer on advertising anything. So no one gave me any of this. I had to buy it all. The reason I like this tool bag is because the pocket's on the inside, okay, and the flap for smaller things. And you're going to see how I've, over the time, figured out where to put things. I don't like their strap. This thing, it has broken before, so I might need to put a better hook on this. The other thing I don't like is I would prefer if the bottom was like a hard plastic pan. Sometimes when I'm working, I'm in dirt or gravel or grass or whatever, and it'd be nice just to be able to wipe this off or something. So I wish that the bottom of this bag was a little bit more rubberized. But anyway, so that's the tool bag I'm going to use, okay? They have a big one and a small one. I started off with a smaller size, and honestly, I outgrew it. More and more stuff was being filled up in here, and this is the trash can, if you will. You know, all the stuff that goes in there. So that's that. Now, with all of this, what I want to do, I'm just going to scooch it over here on the side, and I'll bring in one item at a time and just kind of explain and go over it. How am I going to do this? There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Now, I'm going to set my tool bag over here. It's out of the shot, but as I start to put things in it, this is unscripted. I don't know where I'm going with this. You see me use these tools a lot. I've got 3 of them in here somewhere. Here it is. Okay. Little plastic scrapers. If I'm working on an RV and I need to get something off and it's on the side, you can scrape and it's not going to mar the metal. So I really like these a lot. You might even see that I've just recently freshened these up. They were probably about that long originally, and then as you use them, they're going to break and chip. And so I take a grinding wheel and I grind it square, and then I kind of grind the side. It's not perfect because it's not going to last very long. So these are awesome. I love them. You can see they get used a lot. Okay. I'll show you. I'll bring my tool bag over after a few minutes. I'm going to show you that in a second. This guy here goes with the yellow one. No, he's green. He's green. All right, let me show you what these are and why I use them. So let's say that you have to skin the jacket off of a wire, okay? So let me cut that off. I have to skin the jacket off that. Now, a lot of people will take a razor blade, here somewhere. They'll take a razor blade, here it is, and they'll just cut around it and pop it off. Well, what I've found is I get one of these tools here, and you take, there's 2 razor blades on the inside. This is for stripping coax wire. But you take one of the razor blades out, leaving like one's going to cut into the coax and leave the bare conductor, and the other one's just going to cut into the jacket. So you want to leave the razor blade that's just got the jacket. And this one, you see, it's got a couple different sizes. And then you spring load it, you pop it in there, go with black. Oh, about 1, 2, 3 times, okay? And look at that, it just popped right off. And if you can look carefully, I never even nicked the conductors, okay? So that's something I've been using in the trades for years and years and years. The other one I had broke. But so I'll use this one for these sizes, a bigger gauge size, the little size, and this guy here I'll use to strip smaller gauge wires. This one would be for like a Cat 5. We don't run into that a lot in RV work, but if you have a smaller gauge wire, like I'm not going to cut my wire lead for my meter, but if I needed to and just get the jacket off, leaving the conductors, that's what these are for. Love them. Okay. Obviously a razor blade. There's lots of different types and styles. The thing I like on a razor blade is, oh look, I'm empty, is a storage in the handle. Because if I'm working in the field and my razor blade gets dull or whatever, yes, I can turn it around, but I also want a storage in the handle. So what was important to me was one that had a storage of razor blades in the handle. Let's see here. This is an assortment of drill bits, and I just really, honestly, I go to Harbor Freight and I buy their cheap drill bits because I'm going to break them, and I have a drill doctor that will sharpen my bits, but it's hard to sharpen a bit when it's got this hex on the end of it. So I use them 2 or 3 times, throw them away. Yes, I could actually buy better bits, but they tell me the size. And so this is a case I got. I guess Ryobi was where I bought this. I've had this for years, but it happens to fit the sizes that we use a lot. And then I use a step bit to help, you know, remount bigger holes and things like that. So it looks like I need to get some other, you know, obviously they broke, but I do have the spares because I've got all these other cheap bits. I don't mind buying the cheap bits. I know they're going to break, and that's good enough for me, okay? And then this case just keeps everybody together, okay? Speaking of cases, here's one. You can see I worked in the rain here. Now, you can buy the case and it's got stuff in it, but what I do is, like these here, these are these DeWalt impact rated swivel bits, okay? I love them, they're great. I bought a set, gosh, 2 years ago or stuff, and they're still hanging with me. They're magnetic in the tip, which makes them nice, and that swivel really is handy. Sometimes you're working on a furnace and you're going to pull out, you've seen this featured in several of my videos, you'll see me pull out that burner head, and I need to get that quarter nut drive down the bottom, and I'll pull the swivel out and I'll come in at it, you know, at a swivel like that. Another thing I like is I'm holding it right here and it's still able to turn. So, you know, squirt it with some lubricant in there sometimes. So that's one part right there. And then I also go with, those are other parts. So that's a number 2 squared or number 2 Phillips. And so those go in here. So I'm in this case quite often, and what it's got is all the bits that I would typically use on the job in the field, okay? These funky star bits, a big P3, a P1. I've got the P2s and this number 2 squares of different lengths. Here's a number 1 square that's a bit longer. So this is, here's a little adapter for a socket set. So I've got the different star bits and torques is what they are. And so this case is one I've kind of created with my Darwin's theory of tool evolution, what goes in this, okay? If I'm gonna go up on a roof and work on an RV or something, I'll usually slip this in my pocket and carry this whole case up with me because it's gonna have everything. Some of the air conditioners have the T25 torques, and you know, so it's got everything I need in it. I don't have to climb back down and say, oh shoot, I forgot a flat blade or something. So that's what's going on there. Flashlights, I carry 2 with me, and because if the batteries are going out in them, I'll just swap it out. And I like this kind of flashlight. I'm looking for something, Here, here's one set. And I got another one of those here somewhere. It'll show up later in the show. But, so the thing I like about this is dull, medium, bright. I don't have red, I don't have green, I don't have flashing. I just need a flashlight that's gonna be on and off, bright, dim, and low. And so these here do that. And I carry extra batteries with me in my tool bag. So I use these a lot, man. These are awesome. They've even got sweat on them. So if that's the case, you just kind of clean it up. So headlights, awesome, and batteries in them. I went with this company's rechargeable battery. It lasted a little bit. It's the kind that just snaps right in here. Was not too impressed with that. I get longer life out of the AAAs than I do with their rechargeable thing. So I would say I bought 2 of those little rechargeable battery things that go in here, and the plan was, well, one will be on charge, plug it into the USB, and you know, we'll be good to go. They didn't last very long, and so I just buy cases and cases of these AAAs, and to be honest on that, for this particular light, Energizer seems to last longer than Duracell. I don't know why, but I've gotten, you know, go to Costco and get a big giant AAA thing of Duracell, and you go to Walmart or whatever, get a big old giant thing of Energizer. I've tried and tried, and the Energizer seems to last longer than a Duracell on this. Maybe in another appliance it wouldn't be the same, but that's the case here. All right, they go in the bag. What else we got? Okay, I see this. Let's talk about this guy. This here is something that I made, oh gosh, in the beginning. It's 10 foot long lamp cord, okay? And one side has flats, okay? The other side has alligator clips. And I did put a fuse in here, and you might notice that in my wisdom, I was going to fuse the positive, and then I put my little hoods on backwards. So note to self. And it was kind of like after the fact that I put it on, and I'm like, oh no, because I soldered them. They're all soldered right there. So it was too much of a pain to fix it. So I just left it. So now my ground side is fused, and this worked. I just blew a fuse just a couple days ago on a job I was working on. I was working on an aqua hot, and I blew this fuse. So I'm glad I blew this little 10 amp fuse versus something on their aqua hot. So what I do with this works great. You've seen me do this in working on a furnace, for example. I'll take, let me show you. I don't know where they are. These little, like here's your wire, and you snap one of those things around it. You see me, just watch one of my furnace videos, you'll see me doing it. And then I can plug this in. Basically, I'm tapping into the wire. So I can tap in on one wire, tap it on the other wire, and then touch these two together, and I've become the thermostat. So the wire's used for that a lot. Other times I might need to energize something, so I'll grab whatever I'm energizing with this, and then I'll take one of my battery packs. We haven't gotten to the drill just yet, and I'll go plus and minus here. And so if that's 12 volts, do I not also have 12 volts on the tip right here? So I'll do that. We'll talk about the drill or the batteries in the drill in a minute. So anyway, 10 foot cord, very handy. Gets a lot of use in troubleshooting. A large majority of the work I do on an RV is electrical troubleshooting. Even if your leveling system doesn't work, it might be because of a solenoid or a wire. So let's stay with the wires for just a second. And so I carry these as well. The difference is, they're both plugs, but the difference is one's male, one's female. And if you need to check an ice maker, what am I trying to say? If you're going to check an ice maker, then you can plug this directly into the solenoid and check it to see if it's their solenoid or not. Now this is for 110 volt. The other one was for 12 volt. So I've got male and female. The benefit of doing this, a lot of times, I think what I might do is make a whole video on how I troubleshoot AC electrical problems in an RV. And this tool right here gets a lot of use. I'll plug I've got the whole RV unplugged, disconnected from power and everything. And I'll take, it's a 20 amp fuse. It could be a 10 or 5. That's just what I happen to have. And so I'm going to short out white to black, and I'm going to plug this into the receptacle. And then I might use my meter, we're going to get to him in a second, to look for continuity. And that'll tell me, a lot of times the receptacles in an RV are daisy chained. And so by doing this, it helps me understand which way to go. I'm going to do a whole other video on troubleshooting RV electrical. AC and DC, but anyway, this is a tool that I would use for that. The male type or female type or whatever, the opposite of this, I might use this also in AC troubleshooting. But anyway, they both come in pretty handy. Okay. Now let me show you where we're at with my tool bag. Here is where my wires go. Right in here, I got my 10-foot wire and my 2 ACs. Okay. On the back, we've talked about these. They go in these pockets, okay? Inside, I've got my headlights and my 2 cases and my little wire stripper things, okay? And razor blade and batteries go in here is kind of how it's laid out so far. So let's carry on. What do we want to do next? Let's do the drill next. I don't have anything invested in DeWalt other than I happened to buy one of these tools one day, and it's 12 volts. And so now it's kind of like you're married to them because you have to buy all 12 volt tools. So I don't care whose name is on it, but I recommend if you're going to be doing work for RVs, and again, my whole video here is geared towards RV technicians. working on RVs. If you're not an RV technician, you're not working on RVs, I'm glad you're watching, but if you're a carpenter, then 12 volts isn't going to work for you. So this is the kit that I carry in my tool bag, and I've always got 2 more of these on charge. These are all fully charged, and this guy is what's in there. I've pretty much standardized with the impact drill. When I bought this, it came as a kit with the impact and also the one where it's got the clutch that you can adjust. But over time, I've pretty much standardized on the impact type drill. Now, and the light. And so this guy, as you can see, he's had a lot of abuse. He's fallen off ladders. It's not very heavy. These batteries will last days and days and days. Because really all I'm doing is I'm screwing in screws and unscrewing screws and things like that. So it's not like I'm in carpentry where I'm drilling holes through wood or something. So for the type of work we do in RVs, a 12-volt tool is all you really need. The benefit of the DeWalt's is, like you saw with my wire, I've got a plus and a minus. I've got a power supply right here. From these battery packs, I have bumped slide rooms, checked solenoids on water heaters, air conditioners, well, not air conditioners, furnaces, and what am I trying to say? Refrigerators, furnaces, water heaters, the solenoids on them. Those are 12-volt gas solenoids. I bumped slide rooms. I can check lighting circuits. Anything that's a 12-volt, which is most of your stuff in your RV, guess what? I have in my tool bag my own bench test, and that 10-foot cord goes into the plus and minus on these batteries, okay? So these all go in the tool bag. And then I'll show you, here, let me show you now. On the tool bag, they have this handy clip thing. Now I've had to modify mine because it was getting loose, so I put an extra screw through it, but that goes right there. Okay, so that stays there pretty well, so that's kind of nice. What else we got? Let's do some screwdrivers. I'm gonna pull all my screwdrivers out. Now, anything that looks like a screwdriver, let's front and center, let's go. Okay, here's one. Now, I've had lots of different screwdrivers throughout my career, and I'll be honest, whoever this is, actually, stand by, let me get the box. These guys here do a fantastic job on screwdrivers. Some of the best screwdrivers I've ever worked with, and I've worked with a lot of different company screwdrivers. Now these, comes with a handy case. These are the ones that I was using previously. The benefit of this is it's metal all the way through, so you could use this thing as a chisel, man, and it even advertises it to that you could use this to chisel and pry. The problem I had with this is sometimes I'm working on RVs, and because this is metal all the way through, I didn't want to short anything out. So, even though I like these, so yeah, we'll make a link. But yeah, these, oh, here, this is what I was going to tell you about. This is even better. Look at what they did to their Phillips bits. Where's my number 2? I mean, they put little serrations on these Phillips, which is fantastic. The other thing is the ends are all labeled, so when they're sticking, I know Klein does. Here's a Klein. But I found that this companies are better than Klein's, better than Snap-ons, better than, who's the guy I did with green? Matco, I believe. I'm just telling you, if you're going to invest in screwdrivers, these aren't that expensive compared to what you get. Anyway, gee, I wish they would advertise or sponsor me, send me some free screwdrivers, because I'm like selling the heck out of them. But anyway, they have the ends on them. I love it. And so when they're in my tool bag, you can just see what you're grabbing for. And I went with the insulated ones because a lot of times I am working on, I'll say live, but it's 12 volts. Okay, so it's not going to electrocute you, but I still don't want to arc anything. So these are the screwdrivers I use. This big mother right here, I use him to whack things with. It's good to have a big screwdriver that you can use as a pry bar. I've pretty much retired him from my insulation days working on live stuff. This one here, it's nice to have just a socket. Sometimes I can't get my drill in a spot, or I just want to tighten it, so it's the same thing that my drill has. Okay, so all those go here. I don't have a, let me show you where I'm going with these things. I don't have an exact pocket for each screwdriver. I'm not that anal, but because I can see what I'm looking for. And honestly, I don't use these that often, but they're good to have with me, okay? Let's get this box out of here. Let's do some of these type tools. I'm grabbing them all out. So if those are my screwdriver sets, these are what I would use for, again, the evolution of what does an RV tech need in their tool bag kind of stuff. Oh, wait, here's another screwdriver. He's a, what is that? A #1 square. He's green. Cool. All right, hopefully my voice will hang with us a little bit longer. Okay, so let me bring these here. Okay, vice grips. These are great when you're working on an awning. If you've seen any of my awning videos, I'll grab the thing and count the turns. So I use these a lot for awnings. This little tool right here is great for cutting off those tie wraps ends. So when you stick your hand in something, you're not gonna, it's not a sharp thing. So I love these for cutting off the tie wrap ends. These are really fun. I like them a lot. 2 wire strippers, one for little bitty wire and then one for a little bit bigger wire. Lots of different manufacturers of wire strippers. Just pick some. I've probably got about 20 different pair of wire strippers, up to and including some of these high dollar ones. But when I bought this one originally, it had this fancy on-off feature where you can use it as one like these little, one of these little guys. We'll get to him in a minute. So it was built into the handle. And now one thing, let's talk about this for a second. One thing I do like about this particular type of wire stripper is you could cut off the screws, 8/32, 6/32, 10/32. So it's really nice to be able to do that with this style. There's a couple other wire strippers out there that don't have that. Like for example, these guys, they don't have the ability to cut the screws off. And that comes in handy pretty often. Again, for just some smaller gauge wires, if you're working on something small, backup cameras and things like that is what I would see these in. Channel locks, I have 2 different types. I've got the, the manual kind, and then the one I have, it says an on-off switch is what I say. Depending on, I like to use this if I'm tightening water fittings. The city water is nice. But I carry 2 because sometimes you're working on a nut and it's stripped and you just got to grab it because your wrenches just won't fit. So I carry 2 for these. A lot of times I'll use one of these as a backup wrench when I'm working on LP. Some of the locations we get to, we just can't fit the right wrench in there, but one of these will grab it. Pointy needle nose pliers. These are really handy when you're really working on some smaller intricate type things. Bigger needle nose, you don't have to get the insulated kind. This is from my previous career. I was an industrial systems engineer. We worked on a lot of, I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole nother video. But needle nose pliers are pretty handy. I like the kind that has the cutter in it. Adjustable wrench. Now, there's a couple different types of wire crimps. I like these because I can get a lot of leverage on them. If it's going to be insulated, you go with the inside, which is most of them, but sometimes you could get the other one and then you could also cut. So of all the wire cutters and crimpers, I really like these because they just seem to have the most leverage. The bent nose, long reach, needle nose pliers, you dropped a nut, you can reach in there and grab it. And then, of course, lineman's pliers. Now, these have some extra features to them. If you're going to be doing pulling of wire and you have that your fish tape, it can go right in here. You can help grab it there. It can remount your conduit. If you're going to do conduit work, you've got a crimper built in. So there's a lot of nice features, but these just feel really good. I've had Kleins for years, and I decided to go with, I like these guys' stuff right here, and Knipex. And because before these I had shoot, they're over there where I do my soldering. Anyway, so I said, well, let me try that manufacturer's brand of lineman's pliers, and they're nice. I like them. So there's those. Now, those usually have a home. So I don't know if you can see, but those two pockets are where my lineman's pliers or my channel locks go. That goes there. And then, so these two pockets, I get a channel lock and an adjustable wrench and a channel lock and a cutter, and they mix around. I just know that they're in that spot. Next guy over is lineman's pliers, and then wire strippers, needle nose pliers. I go here. They're always at this location. If I'm underneath an RV and I can't reach my bag, I mean, all I can do is reach it, but I can't see it. I know where everything's supposed to be, if that makes sense. So yeah, everything has a spot. So long reach goes here, vice grips here. These will get you right in here because they're pointing up. But I find that if I don't do that, I'll lose them in my tool bag, and I need these often. So I put them in there with one handle. Strippers here. I was doing both strippers in one pocket, but then they would get lost. So the other strippers are back here. Lineman's pliers, told you about this. Needle nose pliers. So far, so good. That's a handy tool. It's just a hacksaw switchblade type deal. So I use it surprisingly often. It's just good to have in there. This jewel here, it's a right angle, but it's impact rated. Not to be confused with this guy. These are crap. I burn them up all the time. The reason I carry one is because if you look, sometimes, for two reasons, it's just a little bit smaller, and sometimes that matters. But this one is impact rated, okay? But there may be times where you actually have to do some crazy little configuration like that, you know, just to get around something. So it's good to have two back-to-back, you know, 90-degree things. Surprisingly, I have had to put these things together like that. So right angles are great. I hope this is helpful. Then we go into the Allen wrenches. I carry metric and standard because you just don't know what you need. I've color coded some of these. This yellow one right here is my 1/8 of an inch. Most of the gaps on your DC burners is about an 1/8 of an inch or maybe a 3/16. So originally I'd put some yellow paint pen on that so I could just grab it real quick to just check the gap on things. So one of each, yellow or metric and standard. A chisel, yeah, he's probably seen better days, but sometimes folks will ask me to adjust a door. The latch is not closing correctly, so you can just kind of chisel, and sometimes you just need to raise or lower that little striker plate, and so a chisel's pretty handy for that. Let's see here. Some industrial type shears, scissors. There's a story behind where I got these, but we're not going to go there. But get yourself a really good pair of these things. They're great for doing all kinds of things, for cutting, of course, but the reason I like the industrial type and not the Fiskar kind is sometimes you need something tough to cut some heavy-duty stuff. And anyway, industrial type scissors are great. Let's see. Obviously a mirror. Ooh, that guy. This guy. That. All right, when I opened up the show, I talked about my little red chisels. Here's a blue one. It's a window tool. It goes with that set, if you will. All right, a mirror, obviously. A center punch. You might need to, punch a hole and kind of, it indents. If you're going to be drilling something, you might want to make a center hole before your bit doesn't walk on you. So one of these is really nice. Another putty knife. Here's a larger one here. So a big putty knife and a little putty knife. They're use them for all kinds. Just good to have. Two of my favorite tools. I love this tool. I use this tool, gosh, all the time. And I wish. I found them at Lowe's. It's a Cobalt brand, and Lowe's seems to, I talked to a guy at Lowe's because I couldn't find these, and all I was finding were Craftsman's, And I'm sorry, because I know Craftsman is part of our legacy as Americans and everything, but Craftsman tools suck. I'm sorry, they do. Talking from somebody who uses tools all the time. But these Cobalt tools are doing really, really well. And what I mean by that is my Craftsman one here. Let me show you what my Craftsman hook looks like. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, anyway, it's broken. Here somewhere. See, what I'm doing is I'm looking in the pile of that I dumped out, because when I was at Lowe's to get my right-angled hook tool that I use for all kinds of stuff, they didn't have the Cobalt ones. And so I had to buy the Craftsman one. And I'm like, that's fine. But I tell you, this Cobalt, whatever steel that is, has handled a lot of torque and pressure. And I could really, it's a tool that works as hard as I do, if that makes sense. And any of my tools, I want them to work as hard as I do. I don't want to be working for them. I want them to work for me. And so as I'm trying to pry something out, the damn thing broke on me. And it's just like, man, what happened to Craftsman? It used to be awesome. And, well, you could bring it back, get another one. So I'm going to swap out a piece of crap tool for another piece of crap tool? No, give me these. So anyway, and I've tried a couple different manufacturers of the right-angled pick. I'm going on and on and on about the pick, I'm sorry. But I do use this tool a lot more than the straight one. But the straight one I use a lot too. They're great for popping in those little sealant tubes to break that little foil on the inside. But if you've got a cabinet and you need to get a wire in that cabinet, this is perfect for just wedging between the front plate and that panel and going in there and popping it up. Anyway, love it. Another cool thing is when you've got to pop a terminal off of a spade, you kind of get it, make sure it's off, okay? And you get back there, you just kind of twist it. They're just great. So anyway, enough on that. So we've talked about all these guys. Let me put them where they go before my voice leaves me. Now, here's a thing. Because they look the same, I put the right angle, my favorite guy, in the back corner with my mirror, and the front one, I put him in this corner, okay? So that I grab the right one when I need it in the dark. So then that's gonna leave some of that guy, and I've modified one of those. Here it is. These, okay, so in your RVs, you might have this style of connector for your Pecs line. Your Pecs line is going to come in here. And this is the tool that you use to tighten and loosen these nuts, okay? And so all I've done is we pretty much run into, what size is that? The 1/2 inch size most commonly. And so I just took one and cut it in half, if you see, because sometimes like behind a toilet or something, you don't have the space to get this full thing, and I hardly ever come across this, what is that, 3/8? Yeah, I hardly ever come across a 3/8, but sometimes you do. But mostly it's this. So under a sink or whatever, you just might have some limited access, but that's what those are for. All right, what else we got? I got notepads. This goes in the pocket with my wire just to have. Sometimes I might need to draw a picture to explain something or make a note to myself. Okay, so other things, let's talk about the bits I would use in my drill. That would be these. Now, let me grab my drill. Okay, so I pretty much standardize on my everyday carry bits that I would put in my drill. I like the 6-inch lengths. They just feel better when I'm holding the drill. The 6-inch lengths do. So this would be a P2, and this is an S2 or Robinson bit. Okay, so those are those two. This is a T25 Torx. You run into a lot of those on air conditioner jobs. That's a 6-inch extension. And this little jewel right here, I was in Home Depot a while back, and I'm always looking at different, things. Anyway, I came across this, Bosch makes it, and I found it on Amazon. But it's a hybrid bit. It's a P2 and an S2 bit, so it's the Phillips and the square all in one bit. It works on a lot of what we work on, but you're compromising a perfect P2 and you're compromising a perfect S2. So, but it's good enough to do general type work, but if you've come across some that have been stripped or something, then that's where these guys come in handy. But a lot of times I can just grab this and go, and it's the same bit on both sides, so it's interchangeable. So that's what I would use there. Okay. Now these, okay, we talked about the drill going right here in the pocket, and these kind of go right there. I put them here kind of face up, if you will, so I can just look and see what we got. Let me show you one cool feature. I'm going to pull one of them out. Okay, so the next thing I'll show you is this tool here. It's a magnetizer demagnetizer. I did some jobs in Germany, and one of the guys over there had it. I'm like, what is that? Oh my gosh, never seen one. So this one's from Germany when I was over there, but I've got a link on it as well. So let me find a screw. Okay, there's a screw. Okay, now let me just see if it's, so, and there's one of my bits. Okay, so I'm going to see if this thing is, okay, so he's magnetic. Okay, so I'm going to demagnetize. It says demagnetize and magnetize. I'm going to demagnetize this bit, and you just stick it through there and run it back and forth. Let's see if my voice hangs out for us. I did have to stop for a few minutes and rest it, but okay, so now let's see. Look at that. It's not, it's demagnetized. Okay? And I ran it through the demagnetizing thing. Okay, now what's going to happen when I run it through the magnetizer? So this one says magnetize, so I'm running it back and forth through there, aligning all the electrons in the metal. Okay, let's see what happens. Anybody? Look at that. I just magnetized my bit. Okay, and so this thing right here is fantastic. I like to work with my bits when they are magnetized, so I keep this with me so that I can keep my bits. They'll lose their magnetism after a while. But so anyway, magnetize and demagnetize. Really cool feature. And so that goes there. We're done with the screw. Let's do meters and things of that type. Oh, let's see here. We got that. Oh, here. Whoop. Here's the other batteries that I was looking for earlier in the show. They showed up. The pile's getting much smaller. We got some leads. And, okay. So we'll go simple first. So this is something that you would just plug into a receptacle, and the light pattern changes, and it'll tell you open ground, open neutral, based on the light pattern of what it detects in that AC circuit. And I like the one with the button on it because you can push the button and that will trip the GFCI circuit that receptacle is attached to upstream. And so sometimes I'll plug this in and I'll make sure it's quiet. Maybe I need to find out where that GFCI is, usually in the bathroom, but it could be underneath in the basement. And there are some RVs that have more than one GFCI. And so you might know where the one is in your bathroom, but then, oh gee, there's one right there behind the couch or something. They put them in pretty common places, mostly the bathroom, sometimes the kitchen, sometimes down below. So if I'm checking an AC circuit and I plug this in and it tests good, and I want to know where that GFCI is, I'll make sure that's quiet and no one's talking, and I'll hit this button and I'll listen for that click sound when the GFCI trips. Okay, so that's what that's all about. This jewel right here, it's got a little bit of a heartbeat. I like the one that's got the heartbeat to it. He's just got a battery in him. And so this is for AC only, for 90 volts on up, over to 1,000. And so when we're testing a 120 volt circuit, I would check this. Making sure that my, one cool thing we can do with this, I don't have a receptacle handy. Well, actually, anyway, you can plug this in a receptacle and it'll beep. And then you could go start tripping breakers, and then when the thing shuts up, you know that that's the breaker that you're looking for. Okay, so that's the heartbeat that's beeping right there, and when he touches something, he beeps loud. I don't have one handy, so I could grab an extension cord, but you understand what that does, I hope. Here's my meter. Now, if you're an RV technician, I have had several questions that have come through on my comments on what kind of meter I'm using. And if you're an RV technician and this is what you want to do as a profession, I would highly recommend the Fluke 325. meter. I've got a lot of meters, and I even have meters that do the same thing that this meter does, but the Fluke 325, it's faster. The response time is really quick. I've dropped this thing off ladders. I've worked with this thing in the rain. It's really taken an abuse, and it's a meter that can work as tough as I can in whatever elements that we're called out to work on. So I'm really enjoying this meter. Now, what it can do is it does AC and DC, current and voltage. I don't know what the other number is, but there's another one that looks just like this, but you can stick your wire through it, and it's only going to do AC current, but this one will do AC and DC current. And for an RV tech, if you're doing this for your job, this isn't cheap, okay? But since a lot of what we work on RVs is electrical in nature, you need your eyes and ears. You can't see the you can't see the electrons in the wire. This guy can. So get yourself a good one. Now, these are the leads, your typical type leads, but I carry with me the alligator clip type and then the long probe kind. Sometimes if I'm working on something that's a little bit too big or bulky to fit in where I'm going, and you just connect this right on the end, and now you've made it a little bit longer. You can even pierce through some insulation on the jacket of the wire on that. And the reason I like these is because I can just connect it, and now I can grab onto something if I'm going to do a test. Features of the meter: it's got a min-max mode, which means that you can put it on min-max and it'll babysit the circuit and tell you what the maximum current that it saw or voltage and what the minimum was that it saw. And that's really good if you're doing troubleshooting that something's intermittent. Now it'll time itself off after a few minutes of babysitting. So if you need something longer than a couple minutes, then you would need a data logger. And maybe what I'll do is I'll do a video on data loggers. I've got a lot of data loggers. They're a lot of fun. So for troubleshooting most of the types of stuff I come across, a Fluke 325. And if you don't have one, you're gonna get one, by all means, jump on my affiliate link, because I'm gonna get a percentage of that purchase. Yes, but so the meter, the Fluke 325, the alligator clips, and the long probe things. And then one other lead that I have this one. I had a black and the red. The black one I've lost, so I'm hanging on to the red. And the benefit of this particular type is sometimes this type of alligator grip thing, he's got a little vampire fang in there, if you will, and you can really grab a wire and for troubleshooting. So it's good to have at least one of these, to pierce through the wire to figure out what's going on with your circuit that you're troubleshooting. Okay, so there is what we have on the meter. Other things, like I said, it'll do AC, DC voltage. Of course, it does continuity testing, the beep test. It checks capacitors if you're working on capacitors for like air conditioners. It'll do temperature as well, so you could check your supply and return on your air conditioner. It also does amperage or current, AC and DC. It does hertz. We don't really ever go into that in RV tech, but if you're checking a inverter, you might want to check to make sure that the hertz is correct. So like I said, this one meter is my everyday carry meter for RV tech type work with these probes and things that we use. Okay, so we're almost done. My pile's getting really small. Let me get my toys put away. Now let me get you caught up to where we're going with the bag here. The meter comes with a little holster, at least when I bought mine it did. So I just strap that around my handle and stick that right there, if you could see that. And then all these little handle, they just drop right inside of that pocket right there. This little jewel right here, the circuit tester, he goes in the back pocket back here where my magnetizer is. So I put the magnetizer in there and put that on top. And then this pocket, a lot of times I don't use this that often. It would have to be a pretty serious troubleshooting that we're going for when I pull this guy out. So I don't use them that often. I don't want to put this in this flap because I'm in this flap quite a bit, and he kind of gets in the way. So this little guy I usually just put in this pocket, and this is the pocket that my, you just shove him in there. because like I said, I'm not in that often. And then that pocket also shares where the voltage pin goes. Okay, then that leaves the leads. When my meter, I used to keep the leads with my meter and wrap it all around and just make it all together. But what happened one day, I went to use it and it was not working and I thought the circuit was dead. But what I had done was, by stressing these leads, I had broken it inside of here. So I do that extra step where every time I use my meter, I always take the leads off and bundle them, and they go all the way caught here in this back pocket back here. Okay, they go all the way in this back pocket, and then the meter goes right there in its holster. Okay. Okay, the pile's getting really small, so we'll talk about other little testing things. Marking tape is kind of handy to have. I've got a link down below. I found marking tape in all the colors that we use, like for trailer wiring. There's a brown, yellow, green, and I've got it. I just haven't added it to theirs. There's a red that goes with this. So the marking tape is good for troubleshooting purposes. Another thing you could do for troubleshooting is paint pins and the little small tie wraps that are color coded. I've got links for those as well. I've done a video on those, the BAL AccuSlide cable slide systems, and I'll put little different colored tie wraps to orient in, out, up, down, all this kind of stuff. If you're gonna, so I would not use these for splicing. If I made a splice on a wire and it was gonna be exposed to the elements, I would not use this to protect that splice. I would use the Super 33 Plus electrical tape. It's rated for better temperatures, and if you put it on there tight, really, really well when you wrap it, you will make that a waterproof connection if you do it right, okay? The tape itself isn't gonna do it. You have to make sure you put it on correctly. And so the Super 33 Plus is the only black electrical tape that I am going to carry in any kind of splicing, taping that I'm going to be doing. I also have some of that rubberized tape and some fiber tape. Maybe I could do a video on how to splice wires for different environments and stuff like that. And I ran out of red marking tape, so I grabbed this, but it's big and bulky. I like this smaller. You could even see the marking tapes are smaller in diameter. So all the tapes, there's a little strap right here, and my finger's stuck. There we go. All right, boys, hang in with me a little longer. We're almost done. Like I said, the pile's almost done here. And so all the tapes just kind of go on that cord right there and just hang loose right there. A magnet, mostly this is for when I drop a screw or something inside. It's a magnet that goes in that back pocket there. Another tool is a Pecs cutter, just a small one. I've got my larger one, like the pair of pliers kind, but this is what I keep in my tool bag. He also goes, moving my backboard here. He's gonna go in this pocket right there. Let's see what else we have. A 7/16 wrench. That's the size of a coax connector. So I carry that with me on my everyday carry. So he goes up here in these parts, and a little grill lighter. You might need to play with trying to check a stove. So that goes in the main compartment. And let's see. Other things would be, this is your standard, like on the back, let's say you got to pull a toilet for some reason. And no matter how much you've drained the water out, it's lower than everything else and it's going to flood your floor. So I get a thing called a water snake, which is like this absorbent tube. So I'll disconnect the toilet and I'll carry these with my tool bag, or maybe I'm replacing a sink or something. So anyway, I could cap off the water right then and there. So I carry 2 of those with me. And then this one's if I've got to do something with LP and I've got to take off the LP. If I'm going to do an LP test, I like to do the LP test at the refrigerator. You got a nice big access cover there. There's usually enough. They should be putting an anti-vibration loop in that LP line there, or sometimes it's even a rubber LP hose. And so it's easy to do your LP test there. But if you're going to be working on a furnace it's good when you take that off. I like to plug it since I'm inside of the RV. So I keep one of those with me as well. Other things that I'll put in my tool bag, when I just dumped my tool bag out, I realized that I've been digging around in there for tie wraps, and I'll keep 2 packages of tie wraps in my tool bag down on the bottom part there. Little short ones if I'm working on a furnace. These would be those small little tie wraps that they're usually clear or white, if you will. And because I'm always going to snip those little things off when I'm working on it, because I'm looking for wires. When I'm done, I want to put them back on to make it look nice and dress it up really pretty to keep the wires where they're supposed to be. So I will, I'll have a bag of those little, I think they're like 6 inches or 7 inches or something, little small 4 inches or maybe little small ones, just to wrap a couple of wires together. And then I'll carry more of the 8 or 9 inch ones, the black ones for the sunlight resistant type. Those would be for a larger bundle, maybe underneath an RV or something along those lines. Now, if I'm going to connect some wires, I used to use the butt splices and all these types of things, but what I've been transitioning to, I don't know if you see these, but I'm going to have a link to them. It's these, Wago makes them, but Amazon even has their own in-house brand. But they have, this one's for 2 wires. They have them up to 3, 4, 5. And you strip your wire, you stick it in there, and you close a little door on it, okay? And you strip your wire, stick it in there, close the door, and then pull your wire to make sure that it grabbed it properly. And so these things are less than a penny a piece. If you, I buy like a bag of 100, and they're easier, quicker, better than the barrel connectors, I believe. And the other benefit is it's easier for troubleshooting. If I'm the tech that comes behind you and you use one of these things, I can easily just open it up, pull the wire out, do testing, whatever I need to do, and then close it again so you can reuse them. So if you're coming behind me on doing a job, you're going to find that I'm using these types of connectors pretty much in all of my splicing jobs. I still have the barrel connectors and the butt splices and all that kind of stuff, but if I'm tying 2 wires together, that's what I'm using. If I pull a furnace out and I put the furnace back between your 12 volt plus and minus and your 2 blue thermostat wires, this is what I'm using to connect those wires together, okay? So then I'll use a magnetic tray. This one's a little bit bigger than, I've got a smaller one around here, half the size. That's really the size I need. And maybe I left it on a job or somewhere, but I can't, oh, here it is right here. Yeah, look at that. I ask and it shall be received. So this is the one I keep with me. If you're doing a job, I did an aqua hot just the other day in the rain, and all those little screws just go right here. And I think the last thing would be the food thermometer. This is what you would test your return and supply on your air conditioners. This hasn't seen much work up here in the Northwest. We don't get a lot of air conditioner calls, and I'm thankful for that. But another reason I'll use this guy for is I'm going to check the temperature in a refrigerator. You can't check the air temperature or surface temperature if you're checking the temperature in a refrigerator. It needs to be wet temperature, or what we call food temperature. And so you get a cup of water and you put if you're going to be called in on a refrigerator troubleshooting job, you need to have the customer put I use a coffee cup, or I have them use a coffee cup or a small cup, and fill it with water, and then just leave the water in there. You can come in the next day with your food thermometer and stick it in the water and leave it there for a few minutes, and it'll stabilize on the temperature. But so that's what I would use this guy for. But my Fluke 325 meter also does temperature, so I could use that as well. But so that's what I would use that for. Okay, so let me put all this together and we'll finish up here. Let's see here. This food thermometer is going to go, I stick him back here. Again, these fittings get dropped right inside, and that goes in there, and there is the tool bag in all of its glory. I hope that made sense where everything goes. At least this is how it works for me. Well, that's it, guys. You hung with me and went through my whole tool bag. We'll do the same thing on an upcoming video where I'll go through my service trailer and show you what that toolbox looks like. That's more of an expensive toolbox, if you will. So that's what I carry with me. I'm going to put links down below. I'm going to make sure that all these are on those links. So if you go shopping for that special somebody, you can get them a tool or something that they might need. And so I hope that made sense. Like I said, I'm trying to get myself more healthy. I realize my voice is about to go out on me again. So if this was helpful, give me a thumb up. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching the videos and sharing them with your friends. So from Port Angeles, Washington, this is Darren. Until the next time, see you guys.